Hey guys, you're about to see the review of this thing. It's a V19 health band, and the one I just did, the i7E fitness health band. Both of them use this new scatter plot technology for heart health. And just a request, I know a lot of you guys have parents, grandparents. If you're young enough, a teen maybe, you've got great-grandparents out there, and this technology is really easy to use and could be incredibly beneficial in helping an older person in particular, 50s and up nowadays, get control of their overall heart health by finding out issues that could be there that they want to talk about with their doctors. So if you don't mind spreading this video somehow, either show it to your relatives or friends that could take advantage of this, or blog it out, or share it to social media. I've even got Banggood on this one to commit to giving a special deep discount for brand new customers, just so that they can get folks in to try this technology that have never committed to buying any kind of a smart band or smartwatch before. So check it out. It's really interesting. Look at that. It's even got red diodes in it as well as the green ones. Here we go. Here's the review. Greetings and welcome back to Smartwatch Ticks. We are a YouTube channel on the web at smartwatchticks.com. Today we have another new fitness band for you, but as all of them I've been showing you, they've got some great new features. There is so much innovation happening in the health fitness world right now with these little bands. Wow. Stuff that we have not seen or heard of before. And this is an example of exactly that same situation. Bands, device, well, obviously the bands are removable. Got a little ECG plate on the bottom of it, it looks like, with a little silver thing on it. Tips about it that you want to charge it up. Yes, we do, before we do anything. And it'll simply charge right from USB. Looks like we got 4 diodes. Oh, wow, it just vibrated and started on its own. Wow, there's a plate on the back. And let's take the little tips cover off since it started up. And look at it. Okay, yeah, it's about half charged. Well, let's find out what this thing is before we go much further. It's called the V19. We saw that on the box. It's a Bakeey watch, ECG and PPG. What's that? Oxygen level, heart rate variability analysis, tracking motion, all kinds of things in roughly the $30 to $40 bracket, which is sort of what we're seeing some of these top-of-the-line brand new fitness bands are running. Full IP68 waterproof, got it in a variety of colors. It's using a new app, and I'm going to talk to you about that because this is something interesting. The app itself is worth exploring in addition to the band. Got a few different languages, support for all kinds of things, heart rate, blood pressure, real blood oxygen monitor based on the sensor inside can detect without the cell phone. Yeah, okay. Sleep monitoring, multi-sport mode. Yeah, notifications, of course, all the typical things we see. In terms of sensors, heart rate and a G sensor for your pedometer. Battery capacity gives you about 7 days standby, 5 days use, 2 hours of charging time. The typical silicone band and so forth. All right. At this point, look at that. You see the red glow there? There were red diodes. Red is really, really best for blood oxygen. So this puppy might do some great stuff. It's sure jumping through things, though, on its own. I think I better put it together, charge it up, and then we'll do a deeper review. Whoops, I forgot the manual. And this is really a quick guide because there's multiple languages in this thing. Chinese, Japanese, German, you name it. And it consists of just a few pages. So let's take a look at them. There you go. Here's the first ones. It's showing you how to take off the band and charge it, and the QR code for downloading the app that you're going to be using with it, WoFit app. And it's, of course, in the show notes down below. You can just click on our link and get that app downloaded. The overall basic functions are described. And then on the last page right here, it talks about remaining functions and its waterproof information. Now let's get it charged up. There, all put together, ready to start up, ready to give it a run through. I want to tell you, this thing is amazing. If you haven't watched the review before this one yet, boom, there we go. We're right up into a watch face. It was on the i7E Smart Fitness Band. Take a look at that one because this one is complementary to it. It's very, very similar. And it's got, oh my gosh, wait till you see what this thing will do. You hear it? It just connected to the phone over there when I turned it on because I have got a bunch of data for you. I'm going to put it on to run through this as you just really have to see it in operation. It's got a standard buckle class rubber bands that attach to the module. You saw that before. And when we're in the watch face, it looks like this. I've got the date, Bluetooth. I've got the day of the week, the battery charge. Notice it's staying on quite a while. I've been able to set it for several seconds before it times out. Your heart rate, as soon as it acquires it, live on the screen, always there. Your step count as well, and today's date on the bottom. That's the opening screen. Then, and there's no swiping on it. The screen itself is not sensitive. It's all done with the button. You tap the button, and now we're into our step count, calories burned, and distance traveled. Tap it once more, and now I go into the PPG version of heart rate. It's going to acquire your basic heart rate using the diodes on the back. It's black and white, so it's better contrast, but it is small. That's the only drawback I like on many other bands. The numbers are bigger. I accidentally touched it and moved it to blood pressure, which is what I want to do anyway. The numbers on this one, although the screen is large, the numbers are relatively small, and that would be nice if they improved that, but they're readable, and the band is good and bright in the daylight. It's just as bright as the i7E, which is not the very brightest, but it is bright. There we go, 122/78 is a heart rate reading. Here's last night's sleep information and sleep quality, 3 stars out of 5 it says. And then we've got the reading for blood oxygen that it'll do as well. I got to be careful on touching it because it'll actually advance it. We'll give it a second, and then it comes up with a reading there. Now that's all basic yawn stuff. We've seen that so many times before, but the implications of this when it's tethered to the app on the phone are phenomenal. You'll see that. I have the run section, and if I long press in here, it will start a process where it's tracking the run, giving you your step count through the pedometer, the heart rate, distance traveled, and calories burned, comes back to the time, and then turns off. When you touch it again, you're back to that screen, and it'll just loop through and go back to time and turn off again. If you tap it, you can pause it, or you can end it, or you can resume. So I could go into a long pause, or I can just end the event this way by long pressing, and I'm back. That's it on the fitness side, so it's really light as an overall fitness band, but it more than over makes up for that in what you're going to see on the health. So we went through all of these things so far, up to and including the run. Then we get into ECG. And here's where the magic happens. I can't really show you a lot here. If I long press, it's going to start a process, and you don't see anything on the screen, but it's recording in the background an ECG chart that will transfer to the app. So instead, what I'm going to do is activate it from the app, which you can do, and you'll actually see it live when we do the ECG. So again, running through these, you have only one way to go, and that's forward. After here, we have a stopwatch, which is optional. You can turn it on or off if you want to, and long press to turn the whole thing off, and it loops back to time. And I believe if I press here, I can get the information on the band itself, but in order to actually change the watch faces, that's all done from the app too. So I've been talking about the app. Let's bring it in and show it to you. Here's the app on my main phone because I'm using this puppy all the time right now. Well, all the time being 2 days, but I had to sleep with it last night so you could see some of the data that it only does after midnight. It's extensive. So we have 3 different sections on here. We're in health right here. Then there's exercise and settings. You can tap on them or you can simply swipe over. Here's our exercise section and here's our overall settings section. We'll look at both of those in a minute. First, I want to show you here. We got a big round circle, shows you the accomplishment of my step goals for the day versus where I am, and last night's sleep information. Here was yesterday, and I didn't have any sleep time from the night before, and that's when I started using this, so I don't have any more information for you than that. When you go into it, where am I? Okay, I tapped and I got calories burned, and again, hours of sleep, and tap again, and I'm back to steps. All right. It just toggles back and forth between those two. When you go down here into the actual steps, you see the graph that's showing you the information. Let's dim that down just a bit here. It's called display brightness. Those of you wondering what I'm doing, it's what we see on the watches. I have it on my phone right near my power button. I can set the brightness whatever level I want over any screen. Wonderful app. There's the bar chart. Here's your overall achievement information, steps, distance, consumption. Now you get into show all data, and here we go. Here are my steps per hour from the time I began, and it's accumulated there. So you have the actual linear data, you have the bar chart data, and then you have the cumulative data. We also have more statistical data, including charts that will show you over the week, the highest daily steps, and more information. And you've got it on monthly, and it just goes on and on. This very, very extensive information sharing that you get from this app. That's just on the steps by themselves. Let's come back out of here now. In sleep time, look at this. I mean, it really is dissecting down practically my every movement from when I fell asleep to when I woke up. The deep sleep, light duration, and REM, rapid eye movement, sleep is right here as well. When I fell asleep and woke up and how much awake time that I actually had. Look at this, deep sleep proportion, light sleep, REM, how many times I woke up, sleep falling efficiency, and sleep efficiency. How quickly did I fall asleep? Those kind of things. But there's more. Statistical data for the week. Again, once I do this over and over again, I'll start to fill out some trend information that'll be visible on here on a weekly basis and a monthly basis. And of course, on all of these, you can modify your target setting if you want to. Takes you over to this whole page for all of your goal setting, which we'll see in the settings section on its own as well. All right, heart rate. Are you ready? Look at this. This is, I've been wearing it since midnight, and of course from yesterday it was on there too. This is the overall heart rate trace versus time. And if you're curious, you can go in here and see all of the data that began at 1300 or is up to 1300. That's where we are now, and started at midnight. These have not happened yet. And any of these that you're looking at, like from 8 to 9 in the morning, it's 84. Well, that's an average. Whoops, I'm touching my brightness control. That's always a problem there. 8 to 9 is right here. I'm going to tap there. And look, here are the individual measurements that made that up. It took at 8 o'clock, 8:01, 8:02, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Every minute of that hour, it made a reading, and from that, it came up with the actual 84 beats, 70 beats, 67. So these hourly averages are not just one reading once an hour like most bands do. These are the actual averages of a reading a minute for heart rate, all put then on an overall chart. Wow, very sophisticated. Then you got heart rate scope. And this is where it's talking about your maximum heart rate based on your age and information you put in initially in the app, your gender and everything, and the different zone capabilities that you've set for each of the different heart rate zones and what they all mean. Okay, back to health again. That was heart rate. Now look at blood pressure. We've all wanted bands that can do continuous blood pressure reading, and now we have it. Here you go. There's an increment on each of the time areas, the highest, the lowest, the average, and the latest one. And then when you show all data, just like before, look at this. You've got all the readings for the hour, and each of these then are broken down when you tap on them into every 5 minutes that it's doing a blood pressure reading. Now, I'm not sure what the up arrow means. Perhaps it means it's high. 122, though, is higher than 114. So we've got an interesting thing going on with these little arrows. That will come, I guess, later after studying it and understanding it. But what we do end up then with is an overall range of low and high blood pressure that's accumulated there. And then there's more statistical data related to that. For the week, for the month, so I have 2 days worth of data to report on it. And that's in here as well, in blood pressure. Now it gets really interesting when we get into heart rate variability and how relaxed you are, stressed out, and your heart health, right? Now you get into here, and you see how we've got individual dots with some dots that are spread apart, some bright ones, some dim ones. The heart health index is currently at 76, where 100 is highest on a normal scale of 60 to 100. But I can drill down to all the data and find what I was doing when I was asleep between, say, midnight and 6 in the morning, roughly. These were the readings I was getting. I was a little high. Or let's take 620 to 639. I can tap in here. Had a maximum, minimum, and average. And these are the 1 minute readings during that time period. And it got a few high ones, really high ones, right in here. So we have a ton of data that's grouped to give you smaller amounts of overall data. And that data then is what is plotted on the graph. How do you read this? What do you do with it? That's there for us all to learn. However, a different way of looking at it, instead of simply dots against time, is looking at the Lorenz Scatter Diagram. Ooh, do you remember the scatter plot from the other review, the I7E? If you didn't see that one, go back and watch it, because check this out. There we go, the scatter plot, otherwise known as the Lorenz Scatter Plot Reference, or scatter plot, and this is the reference. These are some of the different plots that you could see, most likely in normal sinus rhythm. The other app showed you some examples of plots that would be representative of someone that may have AFib, or a variety of other type of heart situations going on with them. Not for diagnosis, but for information that can be shared with a doctor, that they can look at certain things and double check things with you and your body. So we've got this data that you saw before now plotted in this graph, 0 to 2000 RRN milliseconds versus RRN plus 1 milliseconds, it looks like. I don't know the science behind it. This is what we're getting. Daily, we should be able to see that. And here's the analysis. Heart rate change, it says I got 4 out of 5 on that. Sudden change of heart rate, 4 out of 5. Neural state, 3. And heart rhythm change, 5. And you can read that, gives you the descriptor of what those actually mean in the judgment of the app, which is experimental and for information only, of its interpretation of this particular Lorenz plot shown here, derived from here, with all of the data picked up from here. Wow. All you got to do is wear it. No buttons to push. All this stuff comes in on a daily basis, and most all of it popped in from midnight until I woke up. Yeah. Then there's more statistical analysis. There's this week's with a dot where the average is, and this month, and you can see the grayed out section, it's even got those extra dots on it. Very, very sophisticated stuff going on here. That's the HRV. Blood oxygen, same kind of thing. Whoa, more things. We've got little cards down here that show you apnea. How many times did you have a situation of apnea? It shows up with red there, it looks like, and the orange is your basic blood oxygen percentage, which should run somewhere between 90-something, 95, 96 to 100. Looks like I was averaging 98, 99 throughout on this. It shows you right here that my average value was 98, and there's all the supporting data that goes with it every 10 minutes, and when you tap into that, there's all the 10 individual minutes. So it's also reading your blood oxygen every minute, every minute, every minute while you're asleep, all the way up till 6:50 in the morning from midnight. You see? So a lot of this stuff is all happening while you're asleep and relaxed. It can tell whether or not you're snoring yourself awake. You like that? Respiratory rate. Here's your average respiratory rate throughout the morning, throughout the night, again in 10-minute increments, averaged together so that you don't have a billion little dots in there. Hypoxia time, cardiac load, sleep activity amplitude. Have you ever seen anything like this? Can your Apple Watch do this? Series 12? Interesting. All right, we're in the HRV. And see there across the top here, too, I keep going back to each of these individual ones to show you from that level. But once you're in it, you have the thing at the top, and I'm pretty sure you can just scroll back and forth between the deeper data, just like that. ECG. Now we're really talking. Here's where I wanted to show you some stuff. I ran one earlier today. This is the test time. This is an ECG. I turn it on. I hit the play button, and it literally plays out live for you right here. You can see this bar going across like on a YouTube video, and there it's starting its chart. And you can click on this and turn it sideways and see it in a bigger picture. You have your average heart rate, your QT interval, I don't understand that, but that's there, and your heart rate variability. Each of these have arrows that you can go off into more data, start and end time, and then you can delete the record. So let's look at the HRV. Medical explanation and the reference range, all right. Okay, the difference between heartbeat intervals, that's the distance between these peaks. If they're really regular and close together, I think you have a lower number. But if you're relaxed and not stressed, you're supposed to actually have a higher number. And so your HRV number should be high. So that's a good indicator that Mr. Tix needs a vacation. While I'm mentioning that, I think you've noticed that I've been pumping out 2 videos each time we do one, and a video every other day for like 2 months. I'm going to back off on that a little bit because I got to get my HRV. I am doing nothing but this. So we're going to see 3 and 4 days starting pretty soon between reviews. Let you have more time to digest them as well, especially really good ones like this. So it's still running. Look at that. It's still running. There it is sideways like this. And again, you can slide anywhere in the chart and pick it up right from there. Anyway, that's all available. You can actually export the chart as a PDF, and you can send it in email or do whatever you want with it. And it's got the complete information on it as well. And is it real? Yeah, this one is really real because I can start testing right here. Now, it's a hot, hot day, and I'm super sweaty. So we'll see if this is going to work or not. All you have to do is touch the plate on this one. So you say start testing there, and then you say start, and it's going to remind you that the correct posture for doing this is this. Now I can say no more reminder because you guys have seen it. I kept it so that you would be able to see it when I actually did this. Well noted. And I simply tap here, and it tells me right away I'm not there, but when I am, it begins. Now, there's a time delay on this one. You see the percentage testing, and there it's starting to kick in and give the sinus rhythm, my heart wave, really in fine detail. At the same time, you're getting the average heart rate, the QT interval, and my heart rate variability. Now, one way I always test to see if it's real is I kind of mess it around a little bit and move my finger, and nothing changed, right? Until now, because there's about a 4 or 5 second delay between the time it takes the reading, puts it in the band, transmits it via Bluetooth, moves through the app, and shows up on the screen. If I mess around and take my fingers off, it immediately tells me I did that, and then it disconnects, and it waits, and it reconnects, and then it'll continue from there on. And all that's being recorded in the chart as well. So when it's finally done, and this is not necessarily linear seconds, it seems to take about 1.5 minutes, about 90 seconds or so to get done, 100 seconds. But it's not necessary, because if it's having a hard time getting a good reading, it kind of messes that thing up and it slows down. And anyway, it'll work its way through. So, and we're almost there. It's counting pretty linearly. Maybe it does. It goes for 100 seconds, roughly. And when it's done, it says that it wasn't good, all right? Which, good, I'm glad it did that, because I was really making a mess out of it. So you have to check the correct posture and do it over again. Okay, yes, got that. And then you have to read it, and it tells you exactly what to do, so you do it right. So when you do it right, and I have done it right, I can come back to here and say show all data. Here's a whole bunch of other tests. Look at them all. And they're the real thing. It's showing you what it looked like when it actually got started. So I go in here, I hit play, and the beginning of it is going to look just like what you saw in the chart once it takes off the blank stuff in the front. You get your total average heart rate, QT interval, and HRV for each of these records. You can expand it to look at it. You can send it off to yourself in email to archive it. And you have it right here in the app as well, right in the ECG. How to do an ECG detection, that was our guideline. And so far I've done 4 of them, and there they are. What does that thing do? Oh, that's where we just jump right in it and take one right away. Or you could hit start testing up there. So we've got ECG, we've got blood oxygen, we've got heart rate variability, regular blood pressure, regular heart rate readings, very detailed sleep analysis, and your step count and step information for just moving through the day. All of that is right here. And that's the health section. You can even have awards reaching certain levels. When you slide over, you get into exercise. This is where you use the app to actually generate exercise information. You can do an outdoor run, an indoor run, you can do a bike ride, and you can do plank. And at this point, there aren't any others that I see. Let's try a bike ride outdoor. Oh, changes the images. Okay, that's pretty cool. There's a run indoor. And there's your plank. Aha. Okay. I'm going to start at 3, 2, 1, and go. So, theoretically, we can get GPS location. You've got the distance traveled from GPS, duration, your hourly speed and completion, and so forth. You can lock the screen, you can pause it, you can continue it, you can stop it, hold it to actually finish it completely, and the distance was too short to record. But this is how you can get some of your health information. So that's the overall fitness health section with all the different activities that you can do. So health, exercise, and settings. Now, we're going to go into the settings, but I want to show you a cute little trick. Watch this. This is yourself, right? SmartWatch ticks. When I go in here, I have all of the summary information that we were seeing on that first page in a different way of portraying it here on a weekly chart, or daily, there's the actual really good detailed chart broken down on each of these. Really, really nice way of doing it. You do that right off of my page, which is right there. Now, you've also got this section here. You see I have awards and weight. You could actually go in and decide what your weight is and put that in here as well. And there's other things that are missing. Well, oops, brightened it up again too much. That's because right at the moment, the band is disconnected. You see down here? So I'm going to reconnect it and come right back. There we go. I got you connected on the V19. And look, all of a sudden, all these other little buttons showed up that weren't there before because it didn't know what band was connected to it. So this app is sophisticated to give you the different things that each of these have. And this is where you can activate any of these without even having to touch the band at all. You could have your arm behind your back for all we care, go into ECG, you could start one just right here like we saw before. But you also can do heart rate, start it up right there. You can come over and do blood pressure, same thing, using the general thing, or private, which is where you put in your specific numbers that you know are accurate from a cuff reading, and work from there. You've got your blood oxygen levels you can start directly on the app. And look at this, a pictograph. A pictograph is a camera picture. And when you have it in this mode, and you shake it, you move the band, you see the little icon on there, it's going to take a picture. So you have a selfie capability as well, and a timer. So you can set the timer for countdown timing right here. You have a whole bunch of shortcuts already built into it. And when you select one of those, like 3 minutes to brush your teeth, timing, and you start it, there you go. The countdown timer is happening, but it's actually happening on the band itself as well. Okay, and those are all little cards that you have access to. Oh boy, you've got clock, reminder. Clock now is where you set alarm clocks on here, which is different than your countdown. And reminders are a similar type of thing that will give you a little reminder. So you go into personal. Here's where you have your nickname, your gender, birthday, weight, height. This is in centimeters and whatnot, but there's a place you can change to British measurements if you want to and have it in inches and whatnot. Your body mass index, which should be computed from all the other stuff you put in, your BMI, and then the device. Now, before we go in there, that's extensive. We're going to go goal setting. This is the page you saw us bring up on a variety of the other pages that cross-linked, where you can set your step goal, your fat reduction target in calories, right? And your overall sleep goal, the target sleep cycle. How many cycles of sleep would you like to have? Wow, huh? Wow. Target sleep cycle hour is available too. Your rising time that you desire, 7 o'clock, and you can set an alarm for that. And your suggested sleep time is available through all of this, through how you set everything up as well. So that's in your goal setting. Here's our units. We can set for imperial, and that's it, just metric or imperial. And then the theme style. This is for the app. The app right now is in this light theme, so you can see it easier on the screen. But I can go to dark or this default scheme, and it will change the way it displays. I think you have to restart the app and everything too, so we'll skip all that. But just play with that if you want to. And now, third-party access to Google Fit. So all of the data that you're able to collect on here, if you want to, you can tie it into Google Fit and send it over there too to do further analysis. There's a help section about us and log out from the app. You can set up an account to be in it, or you can enter this as a guest, and you don't even have to set up an account. But all your data will be lost. It won't be saved in the cloud. But for some of you, you prefer that. So you have that option. Unlike Amazfit, you've heard me talk about them. You can't even access the band until you set up an account and link everything together and give access to the cloud. This is exactly the opposite. Really, exactly the opposite. We're using the V19. That's the band that I have on. And we've got message reminders that you can set. Heart rate scope. This is the cap reminder with a heart rate upper limit. Ooh, look at that. The countdown timer just rang. It didn't ring on the phone. It rang on the band. That was that 3-minute counter. So you can set this. A lot of times it's set automatically as a certain percentage of your overall heart rate, or I think you take 220 and subtract your age, and that's the number. But if you're not happy with that, you can set whatever level you want, or you could change your birth date. And that'll set this, and it'll set the other parameters, I think, as well to go along with it eventually. Here's your maximum heart rate range. What did I say? 181 or something. Confirm. And now everything here adjusts accordingly to match that. So you have manual override of the normal mathematical computation based on your age within the app, and it gives you what those different sections stand for. All right. Sedentary reminders are self-explanatory. Display the light up by rotating your wrist is on, and you can set start and end times. And you can have the sensitivity adjusted. You see how quickly it comes up for me? I've raised the sensitivity. But if it's too much or too little, you have a really fine detail in this app. You have your brightness adjustment. That's a default brightness that gauges based on either a sensor or the time of the day, I guess. Or you can manually adjust it. You see how bright it got and how dim it got? And I'll just leave it at default brightness. And then here's the light up screen duration, which has up to 9 seconds and as little as 2 or 3, and a default setting as well, which I think is like 3 or 5 seconds. The UE style. Yeah, that's your watch face. I'm using that one. I really like it because it's nice and big and bold. But you do have this one here as well. Or this one. Or this one. All right, they're all kind of soft and quiet. And then there's that nice big bold colorful one that I tend to run with. Alarm clock reminders, event reminders, we just saw those. A timer that you can set in here. Rotate the wrist to take a photo. We just saw that in another feature across the top, right? Here's the private blood pressure mode, and this is where you go in and set your specific blood pressure. So if you tend to be high blood pressure, say 132/87, that's what you get from your cuff. You put that value in here. Now, when you actually do the blood pressure test on the band, and you have your defined number, you're going to get a closer accuracy to your true blood pressure, because the way these bands work for doing blood pressure using the optical diodes is to measure the deviation from a fixed norm, which is usually the baseline of everybody's 120/80. So if your baseline has shifted, then you're going to be oscillating around that number, a little higher, a little lower, depending on what you're actually getting. So it's always wise to use your private blood pressure value if you have one, if you can set one. Then you got overall switch settings. This is your automatic heart rate detect. Oh, that should be on. Okay. Automatic blood pressure detect and blood oxygen night test. And that's where all this data came from. That is only from midnight to about 6:30 in the morning when you wake up, is from that night test. You want to turn all those on, but I warn you, it is going to eat into your battery. You're not going to get like 5 days worth of charge on this. I'm charging it. I've only had it 2 days, so I've charged it twice, right, at the beginning, and then again this morning. It wasn't really low, but I did it anyway. Anyway, you have to check it, but because that green diode and the red ones are on every minute, it's going to eat into the battery a little bit. But you can do that with the switch settings there. And just be aware you'll lose some battery life. Firmware update, you touch here, it'll check your current firmware version is correct at this point. You can modify the password, clear the device data if you want to sell it or give it away, and then basically disconnect. And all that is in your device settings, which was in here. And we've covered all of this, and we've covered all of this, right? And we've covered all of this, and the place where you have all your regular data here, monthly, weekly, or daily. You've got the exercise section covered, and we have our breakdown of all of our overall health by day. There's my yesterday data, which I didn't show you, but that's in here as well. ECGs from yesterday as well. So all of those will accumulate. And again, when you're in these, you can go through each of the sections for that day, right? And you can change that day and compare today's this with yesterday's that. I mean, very, very sophisticated. So what are we looking at? We are looking at a really fun fitness health band that does all kinds of health monitoring in strategically deep detail. It's pretty light on the fitness section, though. It doesn't do a variety of sports. It pretty much just tracks a run and a few things from the phone. So primary focus is health on this one as opposed to fitness. It is called the V19. It comes to us from Banggood. It's another Bakeey product. And interesting, I just reviewed a Bakeey one that I basically threw out the window. First time I have given a do not buy recommendation on it, and it was from Bakeey. But this is another one, and it's outstanding. So their quality is all over the board, but this one I have strong feelings is really good. It's IP68 waterproof. Does all the kinds of heart rate analysis, really worth checking. And a decent price, $36, $37. And this one, if I can get a coupon for you to get it a little lower, we definitely will. And we appreciate you using the links we provide you in the show notes, because that helps us get these devices in here for review. Alrighty, that's a long one. Thanks for sticking with us. You've been watching SmartWatch Ticks. We will see you again real soon. Thanks for watching. Well, there you go. That's some of the new technology coming out these days, especially scatter plots for working with AFib and other heart issues. If you have somebody in your life that's senior, say 50 years or older, parent, grandparent, great-grandparent, this technology could be very beneficial for their health. So have them take a look at this video and the one before it, the i7E review, to learn a little bit more about what you can get in these bands, and share this if you don't mind, this particular video with your friends, with their parents, to get the word out about this stuff, because these kind of devices, these are really worth looking at. They do so much more than 99% of the standard fitness bands out there. Alrighty, see you again soon.